Today on Sugar Spun Run, I'll be showing you how to make a no-yeast bread. Hey Sugar Spun Bakers, Sam here, and today I'm really excited to be sharing this super easy no-yeast bread recipe with you. Now today's recipe is basically an Irish soda bread. I've tweaked it a lot just to make it have the best taste and texture, and I really think you're going to like it. You'll notice that the consistency of it is a little bit more similar to a biscuit than to a classic bread that you're used to, like my sandwich bread that I shared recently. But if you do not have yeast on hand, I really think this is your best bet to get as close as possible to the real thing. Now to get started, you are going to need 3 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. Next, we'll be adding 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. Now, this is not going to make the bread sweet. It adds a nice depth of flavor to the bread. We'll also be adding a teaspoon of baking soda, which is where the name soda bread comes from. Unfortunately, if you don't have baking soda, I do not know of a substitute that would work well for this recipe. You are also going to need 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt, and we'll stir these ingredients together until they're well combined. So once you've combined your dry ingredients, we're just going to make a well in the center of them. This is where we're going to add our wet ingredients. You're going to need 1 1/2 cups of buttermilk for this recipe. Now, if you don't have buttermilk on hand, I do have a very easy substitute that you can make at home. I'll link to that in the video card above. Now, for now, I'm only going to add about 1 cup of the buttermilk. We'll add the rest as needed. Usually I need to use all of it, but not all the time. Now at this point, I'm also going to be adding 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Now this is not a traditional ingredient in soda bread. I like it because it makes the bread a little bit denser and chewier in a nice way. It makes it a little bit more like classic bread in my opinion. So I like to add it, but you can leave it out. Just keep in mind your bread's gonna have a little bit more of a biscuit-like consistency. Been wanting to try it with melted butter instead of olive oil, so if any of you guys try that at home, let me know how it turns out. I'm going to start by kind of stirring together my buttermilk and oil in this well here. They're going to separate, of course, because they're different densities. That's not surprising. But once they're kind of combined, I'm going to start working outward and stirring or incorporating the dry ingredients into the wet. Sorry if you guys hear my baby in the background. He's having a rough day today. Just stir everything together until it's as well combined as possible. Now I can see right here that the amount of buttermilk that I've used so far is not going to be enough, so I'm going to gradually add the remainder. Just add about a 1/4 cup for now. It's still a little dry, so I'm just going to add the rest. So once you've added your buttermilk, you need to actually act pretty quickly because the buttermilk and the baking soda are going to start reacting and you only have a little bit of time to get them in the oven. So I'm going to work quickly and work everything together. So once you have the dough clinging together and forming a ball, we are going to turn this out into a lightly floured surface. Now we'll lightly flour our hands and just briefly work this dough together. We're going to actually knead it for less than a minute. Now if your dough is too sticky, don't be afraid to add additional flour. Just turning it on my floured surface, still a little sticky, so I'm just adding a little bit more flour. And it doesn't need to be kneaded like traditional bread does, it just needs to be worked together several times. I don't usually like to work it more than like 10 or 15 times, just to form it into a nice cohesive disc. The dough may still be a little tacky, it may still be a little bit shaggy, that's completely fine. You don't want to overdo it though, or your bread is going to be too dense. So I've worked my dough for about 30 seconds, I've formed it into a nice disc. Now I'm going to transfer this to a parchment paper lined baking sheet. So I've lightly flattened it. Now you're going to need to use a sharp knife to score an X on the surface of the bread. You want to go pretty deep, about halfway into the bread. Now we'll take this over to our 400-degree Fahrenheit preheated oven where it will need to bake for about 35 minutes or until it's a nice golden brown on top and it sounds hollow when tapped. Let this bread cool on the baking sheet, and then once it's cooled and you're ready to dig in, you'll want to use a serrated bread knife. And that is how you make a no yeast bread at home. This is super good. It's as close as you're going to get to a yeast bread without actually using yeast. It is great topped with some butter. I can't have butter right now because baby Luke is having some issues, so I'm jealous of all of you that can. But if you try this recipe, please let me know what you think. I always love hearing from you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. So good.